Welcome, everyone. My name is Grant Atkinson. I'm a reporter here at the Western Journal, and today I have the privilege of interviewing Chris Burgard, one of the producers on the new movie Capital Punishment. It's going to tell the real story behind January 6th that the establishment media maybe isn't telling you. So, Chris, can you tell us just a little bit? You were there at the Capitol that day. What was your experience like?
My experience is that they're not showing us, they're lying to us about what that event really was like that day. We experienced and filmed about 2 million people there that day. Most of them, 99.9% without masks, praying, singing, peaceably marching to the Capitol. My experience that day is we were all still listening to the president speak while over a mile away, people were breaking into the Capitol. So whoever was breaking into the Capitol, it wasn't us. I've been covering revolutions and protests for about 17 years. I was on the border for a long time. I was in Mexico, and I was in Central America during the attempted color revolution in Honduras.
Hmm.
And there are a lot of similarities between what I saw in Honduras and what happened that day. And the way the media has portrayed that day is beyond fake news. It's actually propaganda at a psychological operations level. You'll see in the film how the media re-edited President Trump's speech to make it look like he called for violence on the Capitol. And when you see it broken down like that, it you don't think something like that can happen in America. And after that day, to run into people that have been arrested that have had 20 armed SWAT FBI officers break into their house, flashbang them, flashbang their children, put 12 and 13-year-old girls into handcuffs for things that their parents supposedly did, but even though the parents never even went into the Capitol building. I would expect to see that in Honduras. I would expect to see that in a color revolution in Venezuela or in Egypt or in Ukraine. But to see this happening and experience in our own country, it's beyond disturbing. And it's all in the movie, and it's just so wrong.
Can you tell us a little bit? Obviously, experiencing that, I'm sure, led to the desire to make a movie. Can you tell us about the practical aspect of when you realized you wanted to make this film, how you kind of started going into that?
Nick and I didn't know we were going to Washington, D.C. till 2 days before the event. We just felt called to be there. And I said to Nick, it's going to be a day in history. And I'm telling you, we just need to document it. We just need to. Walking down from the president's speech to the Capitol, I looked at my wife and I said, honey, I got a bad feeling. I'm getting deja vu back to Honduras. And she says, what do you mean? I said, look at all these people peacefully marching, praying, and singing. Where's the media? Where's Fox News? Where's CNN? They're not here. Usually at a protest this size in Washington, D.C., you're tripping over camera crews. There were none. That tells me that they're all staged at the end of this event at the Capitol building because the narrative they're going to push doesn't jibe with the images that we're seeing right now. Just as I said that to my wife, Nick called me up from the Capitol building and said, I just watched the Capitol Police move the bike racks. They're letting people into the Capitol building. I looked at my wife and I said, someone's going to die today. And after the event was over, and after everything we experienced, when they started running with this violent armed insurrection narrative, it was so blatantly false. It was like they are trying to steal a day in history. They are trying to rewrite history as we're living it. That day that we were there, we had people that had just changed out of black bloc clothes into MAGA clothes and then tried to get us to incite violence and attack the Capitol Police.
Hmm.
Out of 2 million people, to be there and to be able to film these people doing this, and then to be able to call them out on camera and they ran away from us was a God moment. Then to run into FBI people on the street and say, hey, agents, there's bad people here. They want us to do violence. We can point them out. We can give you a report. We can show you who they are. And for the FBI to tell us, no, we're not interested. That was a foreshadowing of what was to come in the next couple of weeks. So then when Nick and I saw Director Ray sit in front of Congress and parrot the mantra that the mainstream media has been pushing, that there was no Antifa, there was no BLM, there were no violent anarchists present there after we filmed them, after John L. Sullivan filmed himself, that is a blatant lie to the American people. And I take that personally because my father graduated from the 109th session of the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia. Up until doing this movie, my respect for the FBI is profound, and I still have respect for the rank and file agents. But I'm telling you, something is rotten in Denmark.
You mentioned John Sullivan. That's talked about a little bit in the movie. I got the privilege to see it at the screening that happened in California a couple of weeks ago. What did you find out about John Sullivan in talking to people for the movie and kind of the role that he played during the events at the Capitol on January 6th?
He's an agent provocateur. This is an orchestrated event. And John Sullivan was only one of those agent provocateurs. There were many. I can't tell you all their names, but I saw them. I saw them operating in the cells. I have law enforcement friends and military friends that were there that day that saw the exact thing going down. There's a gentleman in the movie, John Guandolo, that he's ex-Marine Force Recon. He was FBI. He was a SWAT team leader for a period of time. He was the FBI liaison with the Capitol Police. There is no one that knows better what Capitol Police protocol should be and how to protect our VIPs from threats. He was there that day. He and other law enforcement agents sat there and saw agent provocateur, agent provocateur. And as you will hear from intelligence experts and generals who appear in the film, this was an orchestrated event that was years in the making.
In talking to these people that are in the film, there are so many, like you said, there were some folks who were Trump supporters who did go in the Capitol, so many of them who didn't, and yet they still face just incredible shows of force from the federal government, the FBI. What kind of feelings does that conjure up in you when you see the way these people are being treated and you talk to them?
To see people that did not go into the Capitol building, to have their 13-year-old daughter flashbanged, she can't hear, dragged out in handcuffs, 13 years old, and her father didn't go into the Capitol building, but he and his friend who arrested, they organized businesses when BLM was coming to their community. They helped businesses board up to prepare for that. They lead homeless outreach. There's other people that we had in the film that didn't go into the Capitol, but they organized Trump caravans. So can I tell you exactly the reason why these people are having their doors broken down and being arrested, even though they didn't go in the Capitol? All I can say is look at what else that they've done. And in any totalitarian takeover, after you assume power, you have to eliminate the opposition. You have to take out and silence your political enemies. And I believe that is exactly what we're seeing right now. We are seeing a purge.
Obviously, you were there, so you experienced a lot of the events that happened that day, the feeling there. Was there anything in talking to people for the film and talking to these people that you mentioned that you feel like you learned that you didn't know before you were making this film?
I knew being there that there were people pretending to be MAGA that were doing violence. I knew that. But to what level and how big that operation is, I had no idea until I got into this. I believe that there wasn't just one operation going on that day. There were many. And the players and who funded them is beyond my pay grade. Why? This guy, Jacob Chansley, the Buffalo Horn dude, I ran into him several times that day. I filmed him. Why was he taking selfies with Nancy Pelosi's son-in-law? Why was he taking selfies with a guy named Sergei Debinin, who was a player in the bloody Ukrainian 2014 color revolution? These are things that America should be asking. These are things that our intelligence experts should be investigating.
What would be just your message to people about why they should watch Capital Punishment. What are they going to learn about January 6th? And then what can they do afterwards?
It's very simple. Watch the movie, see what actually happened, see what is being done right now to your fellow Americans that didn't even go into the Capitol building. Take a look at at tactics, military tactics being used to kick in doors and handcuff children, similar to what our military does in Afghanistan or Iraq. This is psychological intimidation. It's sending a message: if you disagree with us, shut up, or this is going to happen to you. Ask yourself if this should be happening in the United States. I want people to watch this film to see the people that have been thrown into jail for 4 days, for 9 days, without a phone call to their attorneys. Ask yourself, no matter what your politics are, should this be happening in the United States of America? What I would ask people to do after this, I hope it's a call to action. The truth is never afraid of a lie, and a lie cannot stand in the presence of truth. And right now, to the enemies of the United States of America that would seek to squash a free republic, I think this movie is an extremely dangerous weapon, because this weapon is truth. How we win this war, we fight this war with truth. We fight this by standing together and standing up, standing in truth, saying these are the facts, and we're not going to take it anymore, because what's happening right now is they are lying to us. We know they're lying. They know that we know that they're lying, but they continue lying to us anyway. That has to end. The last thing I'll say to you, if you know your history, Joseph Goebbels said that if you tell a lie big enough and repeat it often enough, it eventually becomes the truth. That is exactly what is happening right here. And Joseph Goebbels goes on to say that the truth becomes an enemy of the state. Well, in the United States of America, the truth should be the ally of the people and the state. That's not happening now. So we rectify it with the truth. That's what we need to get to, a tipping point of truth.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that a great way to do that, like you said, is to go watch this movie. Like Chris said, it's called Capital Punishment. You can order it at capitalpunishmentthemovie.com. It's going to premiere on Thanksgiving Day, but you can go ahead and order it now. There's a DVD copy you can order and a digital copy. And it's going to tell you stories that you haven't heard about January 6th. It's going to reveal that truth that Chris is talking about that you're not going to get anywhere else. So everyone certainly go order that. It is definitely worth the watch. Thank you again, Chris, for joining us and for just talking to us about this movie, and just giving us some of your time. It means a lot.
Well, you betcha. We're seeing our constitutional rights being trampled and eroded as we speak. While you still have the freedom to choose, I will add on to what you're saying. This Thanksgiving, you can choose to kneel with the NFL, or you can choose to stand up for your country and watch this movie with your family.
Exactly. That I couldn't have said it better myself. So I appreciate it. Again, everyone go to capitalpunishmentthemovie.com and it will come out on Thanksgiving Day. We're looking forward to it. Thanks, Chris.
God bless and happy Thanksgiving.